Hi, it's me, Astrominal. What triggered me to make one of my best performing videos ever was my fascination towards how this Blue Archive PV was made. Prior to the now ever-growing amounts of PVs from Blue Archive CN, these videos were very scarce in numbers. You barely see a PV that generally will look and feel this way. However, in recent times, that has changed. Every now and then, you will get a PV from Blue Archive CN that will look as stunning as usual. I still remembered praising the live 2D animation for how it was able to make head turns look so seamless, and now the animation can just do literally everything as smoothly as they can be. As time went on, more PVs got released, and when I tell you they released bangers, they really did. Namely, the 3D animated ones. I've had this pet peeve with how the students move in these Blue Archive shorts because, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. What makes me more confused is considering that I assume these were not animated and instead they use something like motion capture. Do they actually move like that in real life, or do they just do it because they're currently embodying a student? Well, thankfully, Blue Archive CN decided to not go down that route and instead make them fully animated. And holy shit, thank god they did, because all of these are just really pleasantful to watch. There's just something about seeing these characters you always see silently slide across the screen in 2D, now being able to move more flexibly in 3D. And I just wish Global and JP would integrate that style, because I would love to see how they would do it. Anyway, have you ever seen such a cool Blue Archive PV? When I first saw this PV, I was astounded. The quality of this, to be honest, is insanely good. Blue Archive CN is practically no stranger when it comes to integrating quick and fabulous motion graphics to their PVs, implementing it in almost every PV that they make, but more commonly done in story-specific PVs. And there's just something about how this game went from mostly having these as their main way of teasing in-game future events to seeing shit like this every now and then. We now have multiple and different vast styles of PVs, ranging from just 20 seconds max about a very fairly simple student reveal to cinematic pieces you don't really get anywhere in Blue Archive. But here lies the question. Is this better than the Azusa PV? If you've seen my video of it, then you know that I hold it with pretty high regard, and from my general tone of speaking alone, you might assume that this is the case. However, that is actually far from the truth. Why is that? Well, that's why the title has that almost slapped onto it. And I also wanted to talk about this PV for a while, since I genuinely find this a bit interesting. So this is a Blue Archive PV, almost done right. I'd like to set some kind of baseline that would help describe my points a bit more clearly. From watching this PV, I could think of two words that I can use to describe said PV, those being execution. In other words, I'll be talking mainly about the visuals and most likely how it was done, but not deep enough to address things such as the theory behind the visual choice, basically anything tied down to what you see. And there's also momentum. And I should mention this beforehand so people don't get confused later on. When I say momentum, I mean things similar to pacing, rhythm, and flow. I would have chosen pacing or rhythm, but diving into one of those will most likely overcomplicate things, and that's the least thing I want to do today. So let's keep it simple with momentum, and I'll kind of break it down to what I mean by this baseline later on. With these two words, I should at least be able to convey my thoughts on this a bit better, because without the usual PV video structuring, it kind of tends to mess up a lot of things, like very much a lot of things. And a little fair warning is that all of these are my opinions. It's a subjective analysis, and the majority of what I'm about to say is gonna be tied to how I feel towards a thing. If you happen to have an opposite view of it, feel free to comment, because I'd like to see more takes towards this PV, because my own is actually not enough if I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay, anyway, without wasting any time, I think the execution is really good. I mean, any person watching this would say the exact same thing, but this is genuinely one of the best BAPVs I've seen by far. The way the beginning shots looked and were animated is something I can't simply sweep off and ignore. The quality of these animated shots are genuinely insane, actually. You don't see this too often at all. After this, they waste no time shoving us with a boss sequence, showing multiple raid bosses that you have to go up against at that point in the story. Again, the execution in this segment is superb, mainly because I didn't expect them to go with this aesthetic. I don't know what type of style of aesthetic this is called, but I really like it. And seeing it implemented here was a genuine surprise to me. This segment features a lot of quick and snappy shots, and it uses their in-game models to show their utmost significance. And I know, Pretty crazy buzzwords. The next segment features a lot of students. Similarly, it follows a similar style, but instead of using in-game models, they opted to use cutscenes. These cutscenes are edited pretty nicely with a lot of subtle white flashes and zoom outs on every cut that I would assume to be something like impact frames. The slow directional pan that follows suit, the sick overlap between the typography and the characters, and a whole bunch of other things that are just way beyond for me to explain. Another thing that I noticed is that the subtle color schemes play, mainly in the text. In the boss section, we mostly see darker colored text, while in the students section, the text was brighter. And I believe this is some kind of metaphor that they're trying to present the characters in. Some form of light versus darkness, good versus evil type of metaphor. However, not everything can be sunshines and rainbows, because my only distaste with this PV lies within the character reveals. I have no problems putting a character reveal in a PV, but what the fuck is this? Because the way they did Kana and Megu's reveal in this one is... Huh? Like, I genuinely don't get what brought this to be the final finished product and not realizing that shit's kinda, you know, this fucking sucks. You may think I'm just being a bit too harsh here, and yeah, I kinda agree, but no offense. Really, no offense. This is... Oh, I don't fucking know. If you think that this is alright, then you might want to see what comes after Megu. Yeah, that's right. That is Mika. Despite being a character reveal, this was done fucking right. It doesn't follow with anything prior, and just the quality alone, this is diabolical. Like, for once I thought, man, Mika in this PV is kinda cool as fuck. Because entire section felt so carefully executed, whereas for Megu and Kana, it felt like it was, you know, it could have been better, but oh well. It is what it is. The other thing about this Mika section is that the fact that the moving parts stay consistent. And alongside that, instead of cutting from the title card or the skill animations, they actually kind of properly did some proper transitioning. Like, I don't know what classifies as a proper transition and just, you know, an underwhelming one, but this was just done kind of better. It's kind of unfortunate and weird to see this unequal treatment, but this is far as I'll go for now. After that, you get the last bits of mainly just information such as the 100 free polls, showing that these are gonna be in the game very soon. But even with simple information like this, they still nailed that consistency in the PV because it matches the momentum that we'll be talking about later. I wish I can talk about more about the technical stuff, but honestly, I don't think I want another instance of Astrominal making the video too long because he knows how to drag on videos for way more longer than it should. And he thinks it doesn't feel right if he doesn't do that. Bear with me here, despite having clear ideas of what to talk about, conveying it was actually pretty difficult, so I might sound like a dumbass. But other than that, I will also refer to rhythm and pacing more often than not to make it a bit more clear towards what I'm pointing out. Okay, this PV starts with a bang. A lot of atmospheric sounds, a really solid opener for a PV that tries to set a more dramatic and impactful tone like this one. After some shots, you can hear the whoomp, or the commonly known as a drone, playing to emphasize a feeling of suspense. This level of sound and its intensity, in my opinion, fits very well considering how much shit goes down during this time in the story. And then, they quickly did what I think a genre switch to something more electronic focused to speed up the pacing. And then the song ramps up again, increasing the speed of the PV for it to have more quick and snappier movement. And then, it breaks the intense flow of the PV. Yeah, I think the music and the idea isn't so bad. It's just how they did it, because the Kana and Megu reveal breaks the momentum that we've been riding on. Okay, picture this. Let's say you're watching MSS Blue in such a perfect atmosphere, and then the moment the climax hits, an ad starts playing.
You're gonna make it, Fritz. I know.
Man, what the bullshit, right? All of that build up, all of that tension we felt was shattered with this. Man, I don't know. I wish they could have done this differently because holy shit, this would have been the best PV by far that I've ever seen. And you know, coming back to this Mika section after mentally losing it over 2 minuscule character reveals feels so nice. You can really feel the music shifting to something like Complextro in this section, but that's not really the one I wanted to focus on. The thing that I've been wanting to focus on is the fact that, in my opinion, this section continues the fast rhythm that we were cut off from earlier. It complements the visuals so well, giving the same oomph or intensity as the previous segments that, you know, are not the Kana and Meko reveals. And this momentum stays consistent further into the info section of the PV. And with that, let us ask the question again. Is this better than the Azusa PV? The answer is no. I really like this PV and I really like it a lot. It defies my expectations a lot this time compared to the previous ones. But that glaring 2-part issue of Megu and Kana prevents it on, well, overtaking my favorite PV of all time being the Azusa PV. I should stop saying PV. If the volume F1 didn't have that Megu and Kana section, or just the fact that they didn't do it like that, then I'm pretty sure, and I'm very sure of this, that this will probably be almost as good as the Azusa PV, just not as quite, well, no, perfect. I know that it was pretty pointless of me to ramble about whatever I find not so perfect, but sometimes I like to talk about what I think, especially if it's something about like editing, because I enjoy it a lot, and I upload things that I find, well, fun. But seeing this PV missing out on its potential is just so unfortunate that I just had the urge to share what I had in mind to whoever's willing to listen. I kinda struggled on how to write this because I didn't want to stretch this out for way too long like my previous videos, and I like to keep it as concise as possible, but thankfully it didn't end up being so long, I hope, as of reading this. So anyways, thank you for tuning in and I really appreciate that. And if you do like watching my stuff and wonder if I do upload anything that is not Blue Archive, I have another channel where I just upload random dumb shit that me and my friends get into. Oh, it's the SCP. Oh no.
Here we are.
Do not do that, brother.
Didn't do anything.
Okay, that's it. My name is Ashraminal and thank you for watching this video. Bye!